everyone, and welcome to Echo This. Today's topic is going to be chasing rainbows when we choose our pot of gold. And in order to do that and engage in our empowering conversations of hope and opportunity, we have a panel to join in on the discussion, and I first would like them to introduce themselves.
Hello, I'm Debi Wimberley, a medical cannabis educator, consultant, speaker, and health quality advocate. My passion lies in empowering individuals to develop an effective compass to guide their health and quality of life.
And I'm Lisa Jones, a speaker, consultant, and author that leverages the power of humor, gamification, and play as fuel to enhance collaboration, increase engagement, and maximize productivity.
Hi, my name's Minna Taylor, and I'm the founder of Energize Your Voice and the author of The Confident Body. My superpower is helping visionary leaders change the world through play.
And I'm Amy Weishaus. I'm a lifelong educator and a learner, and I'm here also because I have a message of finding joy in everything we do. So today we're going to start the discussion with this concept of chasing rainbows. And what does that mean? The concept of chasing rainbows actually came out in a song in 1917, I'm Forever Chasing Rainbows. And it was actually based on a piece by Chopin way before that. So the orientation to rainbows is something that we all associate with very profound symbolism and symbolism of hope. We're going to start our 5 segments for today's show with segment 1 is called Echo the Hope. Then we're going to talk about, with rainbows as our guiding light, we're going to talk about echoing the opportunity. Next is echoing the joy, and then we go to a little bit of a questioning side of rainbows, and we're going to talk about echoing the enigma. And finally, echoing the transformation. So my first question to the panel is, there's a song that most of us are familiar with, and probably the first thing that resonates with us in our culture, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, from The Wizard of Oz. And I'm wondering, we all know some of the lyrics, they're famous, troubles melt like lemon drops, and we also say that that's where bluebirds fly. And maybe one day we will. So I'm asking the panel first this question. Rainbows symbolize hope to many people. I'm wondering, what do they symbolize for you? And what does it mean to chase a rainbow? We'll start with Debi.
Thank you. Well, this, in form of conversation, this hits home close for many of us, is health. And when it comes to health, it's like the whole world shifts when you get diagnosed with a serious health condition or live in chronic pain. And it becomes really important that we understand that just because our world shifts does not mean we cannot find a rainbow, and that we have the opportunity to do that. And that lives within us by us starting the conversation with ourselves and actually fine-tuning where we're headed and what we're doing. You don't have to let it be the thing that keeps you down, because you are the most important person in this road that you're fixing to travel. And it's important that you embrace that.
Thank you, Debi. And Lisa, what would you add to that in your perspective of what it means to chase rainbows?
Really, for me, it's dancing down the conversational yellow brick road, because if you remember that the magic lies in authenticity, we dare to dream, but we also dare to be real. And the lesson here really is that your words have the power to paint rainbows in other world. So let's click our words together. Let's mix authenticity into every conversation, and let's watch as our dreams unfold. And one thing that I would encourage everyone to do today is really, you can make the conversation sparkle just like Dorothy's shoes. You can use genuine curiosity and kindness, and then that you can see the magic that we can all create together.
And it's so important, the whole aspect of the connection of the whole array of colors together, and our conversations, depending on all our voices, each one chiming in to make this beautiful, beautiful vision. So how would you go about your perspective, Minna?
I think Lisa mentioned the key word for me, which is curiosity. So when we think about rainbows and hope, hope to me is sort of this yearning or this striving for some sort of information that transforms the way in which we are currently engaged in the circumstances of our life. And that also calls on us, if we have this perspective of hope, it's an action. It doesn't have to be a way of being. We can actually think about it as something that we're doing actively. And curiosity can really be at the root of that. Dasher Keltner writes in his book, Awe, we can actively take opportunity to observe the world around us in really interesting, exciting, new, fresh perspectives. And I think rainbows are such a beautiful example of that because they catch us off guard, and we're met with this opportunity to pause and embrace this moment of awe, have a moment of curiosity about the world around us, and potentially be inspired and revitalized to engage with hope in a more intentional way.
I love that you said pause, to breathe in, take that deep breath, and experience the beauty of the awe of that rainbow, and stop and collect ourselves. Very, very beautiful point. I would like now, are there any other comments that anyone didn't add on that segment? Okay, then let's look at conversation and rainbows as our focal point for thinking about opportunity. And since rainbows symbolize so many things to so many people, I came up with a list of 20 things, including inclusion, diversity, love, and harmony. So many beautiful qualities of life that rainbows symbolize. And what opportunities can we take from a rainbow? So I'm asking the question now, and we all have a life of rainbows of some connection, whether it was hearing Kermit sing the Rainbow Connection, or whether it was with Judy Garland. I'd like to ask, what do they most symbolize to you, panel? And related to opportunity, and would you incorporate perhaps one of your own personal stories of connections to rainbows, if you have one? And we'll start with Debi.
Well, for me, life is like a rainbow, and each day you're handed a palette of colors and the spectrum of possibilities. And it's when you trust in yourself that you can engage in that. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my own journey with the rainbow. Picture this. I was abandoned by my doctors, and I was told that there was nothing else that could be done. But within that, I found myself on a journey, and I stumbled upon something that was truly amazing, which is called the endocannabinoid system. And it's actually a system that we're all born with, and it's waiting to be discovered. And you know, when you find yourself sparked with curiosity and you're following down that path, it's when you can learn and engage yourself and learn about something new and open up new doors. So it's truly not allowing yourself to solely depend on someone else to guide you down that journey or that path. It's by taking yourself and looking inward and seeing what you can do to find that. And this is when the exploration for true health can transform and your life can become a better quality.
Well, thank you for relating that to your health journey, Debi. And I wonder, Lisa, what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, I kind of look at rainbows as bridges between dreams and reality, but more specifically to me, they're really like nature's high fives because they remind us that after every storm, there's a chance to shine. And it reminds me of the time I was in a downpour of deadlines, because you were asking about like something that specifically happened to us. And what happened to me was I had all these deadlines coming up. I'm sure many people can relate to this. And then all of a sudden I was driving and I stumbled upon like these rainbows. They were back to back. I was driving in like an hour-long drive. But the lesson here learned for me was that even though life, you have struggles, beauty persists. And it encouraged me to pause. So I would say, let's chase the rainbows, not just for the pot of gold, but for the joy of the chase. And what can everyone do today? Well, I would encourage you that the next time you see a rainbow, pause, take that pause, take a deep breath, and let its magic sprinkle and inspire you, the little colors that come out, and help someone else's day.
Thank you, Lisa. We're all connecting the rainbow to a journey, and we all have these very, very intimate and very powerful personal journeys that we've taken. I know you often hear the storm, the rainbow after the storm. And Lisa, you were alluding to that. And many of us here too on the panel have had our share of hardships to come to the rainbow, which is today in our discussion. And Minna, what are your personal views on that?
As you're talking, I'm having flashbacks to growing up on the farm. I grew up on a farm in southwestern Virginia in the Shenandoah Valley, Appalachia. And storms were always a big deal for us because you could see them coming in over the mountain. And so my mom would always say, girls, close all the windows, take the sheets off the line, get prepared. And then we'd all hunker down. Sometimes if it wasn't too bad, we'd sit on the porch and just watch it come through and feel the spray of the rain. And then it would clear. And my sisters and I swear to goodness, we had this huge farm. When the rainbow came out, which it inevitably did, we would run to try to find the end of it. And we would run. We had acres and acres and acres of just like rolling hilly farm. And we would try to find it. And really what that sort of clues me back into in a really powerful way is this idea of childlike wonder and really embracing this moment of lowering the stakes of consequence. Things right now, especially, and Amy, you mentioned the rainbow being representative of inclusion, LGBTQIA plus community. So many things in our world right now can feel heavy, can feel burdensome. We can feel like every maneuver has a consequence that may be catastrophic. And so it sort of challenges us to show up in ways that feel playful or immediate. And so embracing this notion of childlike wonder without lowering the seriousness of any of the things that we're having to contend with in this world can actually lower the stakes of consequence in moments that feel consequential and allow us to engage in those moments with deeper listening, deeper levels of creative exploration, opportunity to listen more deeply and understand more genuinely, because we're not clouded and fogged by the circumstances and consequence that can potentially weigh down our own experience.
Oh, that childhood wonder, the childlike wonder, that's so much the magic of the rainbow, that moment of awe. And the opportunity, I love how your childhood memory was all about play and finding whatever that treasure was at the end of the rainbow. So it's just, I'm thinking now just how magical it is and how much we want to go on that journey and find our bliss. Does anyone on the panel have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would just add that when I was listening to what Minna was saying, it reminded me of recently when I was driving home with my daughter, and there was a rainstorm, and then there was these beautiful rainbows, and she kept saying, "Mommy, Mommy, look at the rainbow." And I was trying to like concentrate on driving so I didn't crash my car into the side of the road. And she kept saying, "Let's look at the rainbow. Let's look at the rainbow." And I was thinking, we got to get home for dinner. So all these thoughts were going in my head. But to Minna's point, she's a 5-year-old, and think like a 5-year-old. Like she's saying, she's encouraging me to stop and look at the rainbow. So I said, dinner can be 5 minutes late. I'm going to pull over. And I stopped and looked at the rainbow, and we had this wonderful conversation from the lens of that childlike 5-year-old. And it brought me back as well. So thank you for bringing up that great point.
And I would like to add in on that to a time that when I went to Sedona, and I have been very sick, and we were just at the right place at the right time, and this absolutely beautiful double rainbow appeared above all the beautiful golden mountains there in Sedona, and I got as excited as if I was a little kid. Mm-hmm. And it was so nice to see that joy and feel that joy, and it gave me such hope and understanding that there is things that you can celebrate and enjoy no matter what is going on in your life. And my husband pulled over and we took a ton of pictures of this beautiful moment, and it just encapsulated the whole skyline. And there were other people pulling over and enjoying it, and just sharing that moment and having it captured was such a beautiful thing.
Special memories, special resonating for all of us. It's very beautiful. And, you know, in the classic definition of chasing rainbows, people are often told, you're on a wild goose chase. It's a fruitless, vain battle, a journey in vain. It's a fruitless search. And if all of us took that take on it, we certainly wouldn't have the wonderful opportunities and the conversations that we have if we took that negativity about it. It's funny, Alice Cooper even released a song going into 1976 about questioning, is there something really worth it at the end of the rainbow? And I was caught by some lyrics. It was, why have I always been a failure? What can the reason be? I wonder if the world's to blame, or I wonder if it could be me. So sometimes there are people who aren't that hopeful about there being something at the end of the rainbow. And just thinking about them right now, I'm wondering if they could, you know, how we can engage them in conversation to get them to that point, so that they do feel there is a rainbow up there, joining together with other people. There will be answers, and there will be a better vision of life ahead. And that brings us to connecting, and we've been doing this already, but connecting the rainbow with echoing the joy in our lives. And the question here is, on your travels to the rainbow's end, and in anticipation of finding your bliss, how can you ensure your success, that you're going to make the journey? And maybe we can reflect on how are we going to carry these people with us who don't see the vision that we do. So Debbie, let's start with your views on that.
Well, for me, that journey is to the rainbow is first staying true to myself and embracing every twist and turn, kind of like Alice in Wonderland, going down her paths and figuring out what doors to open and what to explore. And allowing me to have the curiosity with everything that I engage during that. When I finally reach that pot of gold, you can bet I'm celebrating with a heart full of gratitude and brimming with contentment, because finding yourself and learning who you are is one of the most beautiful discoveries you can have. And finding that joy is incredible. So joy is like embracing the universe itself. It's feeling a pure bliss of knowing that you're not only discovering your own path, but you've embraced it wholeheartedly. It's like every color of the rainbow coming together in perfect harmony and painting a picture of fulfillment with purpose. Trust me, when you find joy, there's no other feeling quite like it.
And where are your feelings on that also, Lisa?
Yes, Amy, we often think of success like discovering a pot of joyous gold and then the celebration dance underneath the rainbow confetti, right? But I think it's not just about reaching the end, but making sure that we're savoring every colorful step, to Debbie's point about the colors. So what can we all do today? I think that we can embrace our victories, whether they're big or small, and then we can do a dance if you like to dance, or we can cheer if you like to cheer. But the joy, I think it feels like one of those heart-to-heart chats with a rainbow, vibrant, magical, and absolutely worth the journey every step of the way.
Yes, thank you so much, Lisa. And I want to hear what Minna has to say on this also, with the joy and the rainbow. And I think you introduced us to that sense of awe and wonder earlier.
So I write about in my book, and this is sort of a dominant philosophy that I have in everything, especially in my work around confidence, which is we have one life that we're conscious to. One. And I can't speak to what happens after. I don't want to touch that. That is not my zone of genius. what I know is that we have this one life that we're conscious to. And a rainbow is this celestial moment, right? It is a reflection of the sun meeting the earth and atmosphere. And I want to speak to people, the people specifically, Amy, that you mentioned who maybe are struggling to sort of engage in life in that way, activate themselves into that. And oftentimes, I think when we consider this notion of joy, to Lisa's point, it's this moment of expression. And we also tend to put an archetype around it in terms of what it looks like to experience joy. And when we seek to redefine that and look at joy as this moment of incredible surrender to the fact that we have one life, it gives us this permission to now, again, I'll go back to this notion of lowering the stakes or lowering the sense of consequence. I'll sort of use a different celestial object, which is the moon. And every time I see the moon and I'm feeling bummed out, I'm like, oh, silly me. I'm this speck of dust on this rolling rock amidst, the solar system in this universe. Of course our lives matter. Of course things have consequence. Of course we want to have purpose. There's a principle called the play purpose principle, or the passion purpose principle. Essentially, how do we reach happiness, right? And it's understanding that it's this balance, this consistent exposure of embracing moments that make us feel joyful, let's use that word, but also knowing that we have to intentionally engage in the moments at hand. And it's not a moment that happens that's joyous. It's an accumulation of moments that give us the reflection of joy. And so if we can really look at life in this way and activate in increments, rather than feeling like it has to be this sustained experience, just like a rainbow, it's fleeting, right? But knowing that it will always come back, it will always reemerge, there will always be opportunity to see it again, it will always look different each and every time, we can now give ourselves permission to say, I don't know what it'll look like, I don't know when it will appear, but I know it will happen, and that's enough for me to stay present, watchful, and curious.
Wow. Well, we can all take note of that very important message you have, Minna, which is about joy and the rainbow, finding our bliss in increments. I think that's so important because so many of us are so impatient and we want things yesterday. And when we don't get them, right away we diminish the joy because of our impatience. And that's to me, that is such a resonating factor. I also would like to add from my own personal experience that I believe that sometimes we have to create the rainbow ourselves. And when people take that hint, yes, we do have only one life to live, then we have to make it the best possible. Debbie, you said something, you said not only find our joy and our path and our rainbow for ourselves, but to find it as well for others. And in my personal life and my family history, I choose to think of my sister, a person, a human being, as my rainbow. And Joycey was born really shunned by society. She was called a mongoloid and a retard. She was born with Down syndrome, not in the era of special needs children. And it was a very tough road to hoe. My parents didn't see many rainbows because they had all they could do to just purely love their child without society's criticism and their disdain for this different child. So when I say creating, as Debbie said, find our path, but find the path for others, Joyce inadvertently, she was the one who created all the joy and helped us find ourselves and helped us find our rainbows. She was an amazing blessing in our lives. So when we think about that, we could be that rainbow. We, could be that rainbow and that one person to open up the whole world to people. So when my sister was kicked out of kindergarten because there were no accommodations for children like her, the journey started. My parents found like parents who had similar children and needed a voice to create a rainbow of hope and opportunity for these children. So they got together. We had a social worker come to the house and give private lessons like Head Start. The parents had to get bus transportation for their kids to go to an armory in a neighboring town where they hired a teacher to teach these children. So lo and behold, my sister, who was supposed to pass on when maybe she was in her teens, not even that, she lived to 73. She went on 3 cruises. She worked and found meaning in work, whether she was a tray girl at Burger King or whatever she did. She learned to ride a bus, go to the laundromat on her own, live in a supervised garden apartment with her roommate. And that, to me, my rainbow was my bliss in seeing what her life turned out to be. And my life turned out to be all the better because of all the inspiration and all the joy that my sister provided. And as luck would have it, her name was Joyce. So Joycey was my rainbow. And she's my inspiration for that personal note of how we can create our own rainbows and we can be that rainbow for other people and bring it down to a very grassroots, very heartfelt level, heart-centered level. Anything to add on the joyful note as we're doing our joy dance?
Amy, I love that story. And specifically, as you were talking, I was thinking that Joycey is somebody that rides the rainbow every day, if you will. So just saw her bicycle riding over the rainbow. That was the image I got in my head as you were talking, but thank you for sharing that. She sounds amazing.
Well, she was always in motion. And that's another thing. You can't be on a journey to follow the rainbow if you're not in motion. You have to take some kind of baby steps. Joyce was always dancing. She'd pull up her staff members. They were so embarrassed. She'd pull them to the karaoke microphone to do karaoke with her. So if we just, the rainbow's really up there. It seems unattainable at times. But if we just look at what's in front of us and the power of people, I think, that's a great starting point. That mindset for joy, you have to have it first. So, in our episodes here on Echo This, we always look at maybe the flip side of something, and we call it, what is that enigma here that might cause us to stretch our minds in another direction. So for this section now on echoing the enigma, I would like us to explore that despite these high expectations and all these, passionate motivations that we have for our messages and our life's work and so on, how are we going to ensure that our success will happen? And how will we celebrate? What are we going to do about it when we get there? And how are we going to ensure that we are going to reach that destination? Debbie, you've had a lot of journeys and we're all still on it. So where are you here?
Well, for me, I think when you get to the end of the rainbow, and if that pot is empty, the journey is the reward. And I think that you need to look back on the positive things that have happened, where you have been, where you have come from, and celebrate those things. And don't worry about what's in that pot when you get there, because you should already be full of what's in that pot, because you are that pot. I see myself as the person that actually has gone off and accomplished and done things in my life by being who I am. And when you're yourself, you can really celebrate that and enjoy that. And I think that we should stop looking for that something else. Let's look within ourselves and find the joy and the rewards that come from within, because we have the ability to do that.
Wow. And that's so in alignment with Joycey and looking not only into other people, but into ourselves. That is definitely where we need to start in all of this. And Lisa, what are your perspectives that you're going to add for us?
Sure. I think it's discovering that an empty pot at the rainbow's end is really like planning for a gourmet banquet, but getting a surprise potluck where the main course is invisible and the dessert, well, it's just a figment of your imagination. So what's the lesson here for us is celebrate the unexpected and embrace the quirks of the journey. And kind of to Debbie's point, and the action that we all can take here is we turn that disappointment into a game. We can make a colorful game of imagination. We can imagine that the pot's filled with laughter, joy. We can also sprinkle in some magic. So remember that sometimes the empty pot is just really a canvas. It's a canvas for our own rainbow creation, so we can make our own magic. And I know, Amy, you had mentioned earlier about making your own.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. And Minna, would you share with us?
I don't want to spoil anyone's fantasy on this. It's sort of like telling a child that the tooth fairy isn't real. So maybe I should put a disclaimer if you have children listening, muff their ears for that one. I'll go back to the story of my sisters chasing the pot of gold. We would get so excited about sort of this imaginative fantasy of what if. Same thing, we would go into the woods behind the house and look for gnomes. I would look for gnomes in every tree trunk. I'd be like, is that a gnome? Is that where the gnomes live? Yeah. No, that gnomes aren't real. And so what I'll say is the pot of gold isn't real. It doesn't exist. There is nothing actually at the end of the rainbow. And so tying it back to this notion of success, sort of this culmination of a life's work, is a fallacy. I think having something that we've attached to can actually be limiting in terms of our pursuit of that thing. And so if we now sort of implode this idea that the pot exists at the end of the rainbow, now what are we left with? If we're not pursuing something that feels concrete, how do we still maintain a sense of purpose and sustainability on the journey? And that's when it really becomes about knowing that the drive, that sort of ignition point of pursuit, of curiosity, is going to be the thing that will continually revitalize you. Success will look different for everybody. Success today will look different tomorrow. Success is something that can be framed in terms of how you feel, not what you've accomplished. And I know that might be a controversial opinion, but I feel like we are so attached to this idea of in order to what, rather than saying simply because. And really allowing sort of this space of ill-defined or undefined pursuit to be enough. Like Lisa, you were saying, how can you use it as a canvas? What if we approached every moment as an opportunity to paint a new stroke, rather than thinking that somehow by paint by numbers, we end up with something that feels familiar, that will, because we've attached to it, be representative of what we've been working toward our entire lives, which, spoiler, is probably a reflection of what we've been conditioned to desire versus what we truly desire. So I think, not to sort of ruin, if you want to go chase rainbows and believe that there's a pot of gold, I fully applaud you. Yes, do it. Prove me wrong. But I think it's the pursuit of the rainbow itself that can feel purposeful. And do we really need anything to be more than that in order to feel like we've lived a life that can be described as successful?
Well, I have to concur with a lot of the points you made, Minna, because we seem to be on the same vibration on this. You mentioned earlier, the journey for the journey's sake itself. And I think that adventure, that's something, the word adventure, when we look at that rainbow and what it symbolizes, adventure and flexibility are so, so important. And I'm thinking about, how many lives were ruined because a parent's vision of the rainbow, and I know of this happening even today, might have been for the child to go into law or into something other than art or theater, and something that they didn't deem worthy. So those messages were given to the offspring. So the rainbows of society and the goals, and we could get there, and it's bust because it wasn't our goal, it wasn't our dream to begin with. And I'm thinking a lot about how that really operates in strange and difficult ways on people wanting to be accepted and wanting to be successful in other people's eyes, in the terms of their eyes. So we go back to authentic self and things Debbie has earlier said, being true to ourselves. If we see this as a journey of incremental progress, as Minna used the word incremental before, I'm going to say let's not celebrate at the end of the rainbow. We'll celebrate then, but I don't think we get there unless we celebrate every step of the way, every time there's a little bit of progress, every time we can turn to the person next to us and say, nice job, give me a high five. You were spectacular today. Or you said something so mature and so comforting today that I'm going to remember what you said the rest of my life. And I think if we just do that all the time, and I know it's sincere and genuine because these are wonderful human beings and amazing creatures that surround us every day, I think then we are going to really feel like we're living the rainbow. We're not on the quest for it, but we're living the rainbow. And I'm partial to a practice of journaling and sharing with other people. Why is their life important? A journal of celebration and gratitude, where we would write a message to someone, a really sincere, descriptive message of what your life means to me. And send it now. I say don't wait for a eulogy or for a birthday, but send it now. And I believe that when we find these rainbows in other people and create that rainbow of joy by sharing this with them now, I think we have the capacity and the responsibility, the obligation to create a legacy of endless joy. I am so convinced of that. So we don't know who right now is not feeling very rainbow because they're being bullied. They're isolated, they're silent, and they are depressed. And sometimes it's the people who are acting just the opposite. So bullying, suicidal thoughts, there's so many emotions just swirling around us every day that are invisible to us. But I guarantee that when we go out of our way to write someone one of these tributes, your life matters, that the whole thing changes. It miraculously changes. And that we are valuing people, we're recognizing them, we're trying to determine what in them attracts us to them, how do they give me joy? And I guarantee that there'll be a whole different conversation and dialogue and adventure of discovering others and discovering ourselves in the process too. So incremental steps of progress, incremental celebration. We have to celebrate every single step of the way, and that will lead to even more and more and more progress, whatever that success is. And Minna, you said success is how we feel. Oh, absolutely. That is so much a part of the equation. Success is how we feel. And that's something we can think about in our own personal life. What does that mean to us? We are going to leave the enigma discussion now and talk about echoing the transformation. We've looked at rainbow symbolism and chasing rainbows. So let's reflect now on how does that whole symbolism, we'll go a little deeper dive into how can it transform us to benefit not only ourselves, but our communities and reach out to the entire world. So we'll start, please, with Debi.
Transformation in health and in life is not an easy journey, as we've all discussed different ways about getting through that rainbow, but it actually means you taking that first step to be in charge for yourself. and tapping into your inherent potential that you have and meeting the challenges and facing them head on. So this is something that you have to step into and find the new beauty in it and understand that there is freedom by taking charge of it for yourself. It's not a solitary journey. It is something that it impacts everybody in your life when you develop a serious health condition. And so every time that you make an improvement, it's like throwing a pebble in a pond or in the lake, and it ripples out, and they can see that improvement that you have made. So empowering yourself and allowing yourself to be open to explore new opportunities and to listen to new things that can help you is when that transformation comes. It's really important to allow yourself to be true to who you are, because Minna says you only have one life. I also say you only have one health, and taking care of that and being in charge of it for yourself is when you're going to make the most improvement in your health. Don't hand it over to someone else to just guide and take care of. You need to be the one invested in it and taking charge and making that transformation, because there is no one that knows you better than you do.
How true is that, Debbie? Because you're pointing us to the realization that we are not going to give up our goals, our dreams, or anything, that is inherent in us for somebody or something else. We have to look inside ourselves. We have to be the compass. You write about establishing your own unique compass. And if we all think about that internal compass, we have to be our own guide, so to speak, along this journey through trial and error. And we at least have to partner with the others, the experts, or whoever they might be, the peers, the co-workers. We must partner with them in guiding and in being our own true, authentic compass. That's such an important point. And Lisa, go ahead, Deb.
I just want to add into that. I think it's really important that you understand that you're trying to partner with people in your health. You're not looking to just hand it over. So, you're looking for someone that was going to partner with you through this process and that will be listening to you and valuing your voice, because your voice is important and it matters. And it really is the thing that needs to be your guiding compass, because it helps you become the best advocate for yourself.
Well said. Thank you. And Lisa?
To me, chasing rainbows is like embarking on a cosmic scavenger hunt for the universe's most brilliant treasures. However, the journey is the real pot of gold, and the views we collect along the way really paint the canvas of our lives. So what can we all do? One action that we can all take that's easy is we can invite others to join our rainbow chase. We can spread joy, and we can create a kaleidoscope of positivity. And after all, I think a world adorned with rainbows is a world ready for a wondrous transformation. So that's what I would say. Amy, back to you.
Great. Well, I want you along the journey with me too for a very long time to come. And Minna?
I have a slightly different response here, but I think it's hopefully going to add some beautiful color. Cute, it's there. Okay, great. Into the conversation. When I think about transformation, well, first let me say, I think a lot of times when people approach transformation, they think about adding on to who they are versus unlocking what already exists within them. So let's just say that that's the case. Now, put that aside. Transformation is a fancy word for change. And change is a natural certainty. It is literally the thing that has allowed us to be bipeds, to walk through this earth, to have this conversation. Eckhart Tolle talks about the notion of adversity to help us meet this moment of transcendence. And he uses this great example where he says, the first birds were in the sea, and something incredibly challenging they must have encountered something so tremendously challenging to then thrust them out of the sea into the sky. So this moment of transformation was the natural order of things. It was meant to happen, and it was likely painful. It likely took a huge thrust of energy toward an unknown outcome that resulted in the world we now know and have reclaimed equilibrium and comfort with. So if we're thinking about transformation either on a personal, community, or global level, we need to understand that before we consider transformation, we need to understand the thrust of adversity. And that's really going to be the thing that allows us to weather these moments, really understand that embracing these moments of challenge is what will allow the transformation to resolve itself in the way in which it was intended. Again, we don't know. We don't know what it looks like. We are not magic. We are not psychic. But by embracing that moment of adversity, it actually will allow us to come together, and and you may not transform in that moment, and that's also okay. But knowing that change is sort of, and that adversity is going to be a primary component in that process. And then by embracing it as a natural order of things, you can also say, okay, this is uncomfortable, but let's do it anyway. And you can even find play in that process and potentially even joy. So I think we can sort of look at it as a game in and of itself.
Thank you very much, Minna, for those insights. In light of what Minna said and our discussion of transformation being change, that is so very important. Are there any other comments or reflections on some of the comments and views so far that you'd like to add from the panel? Okay. I like the fact that transformation we can think of in so many terms. It as basically change. That is so very true. And I don't think this discussion would really be complete without a little conversation about what Minna said about how did we grow inside? How do we measure the success of the journey? Because it could very well be a major shift inside. It could be a mindset, an attitudinal change. And I think what I've gained along my rainbow journey is empathy. And without empathy, we cannot accomplish any of this. We're not going to get to where we need to be unless we take into consideration the people around us. What are their struggles? What are their hopes and dreams? Do they have a rainbow that they want to follow? How can we help them, like Debbie said, reach their path? And all of that to me is empathy. I've become aware in the last few years that empathy is being taught now on college campuses, Ivy League schools, hospitals are teaching empathy to physicians and to the entire medical staff. Why? Because we need a heart-centered understanding to help people on their health journey to get the best health possible at the end of the rainbow, whatever it is. Empathy is at the core. If my sister didn't have empathetic counselors and caregivers and parents, Joycey, would never have developed into the amazing, joyful, and giving and sweet human being that she was. And I hope that people listening today will think about how can I be a rainbow and how can I create empathy every day. Stop and think at the end of the day, how did I show empathy towards someone today? How was I a rainbow in somebody's universe? And I think that that's the biggest transformation we can all achieve. I really, truly believe that. It starts within, and empathy is going to be, I believe, the way that we're going to get peace, cooperation, and just, again, the peace within ourselves to go on living and face all the myriad of challenges that we do every single day. So that brings us to the end of our formal segments today. And I would like to ask the panel if there are any takeaways summary feelings resonating, maybe a thought that came up throughout the conversation that you didn't have a chance to weigh in earlier, I'd like to ask you, what are your parting thoughts, whether it's a call to action or whether it's the main takeaway for today? And we'll start again with Debbie.
I think I'll leave everyone with a song by Cyndi Lauper, True Colors. It celebrates embracing your true self and showing authenticity to the world. And I think that's something that each one of us strive to do on a daily basis. And I hope that with something that we shared today, you can walk away and put it into play. If nothing else, go listen to the song.
Thank you. I love the link to music. There's always solace and comfort and joy in the music aspect of it. And Lisa, what is your main takeaway?
Well, I want to thank Debbie for that, because now I have that song in my head. It was The Wizard of Oz. So yeah. I think for me, it's self-discovery, and just encouraging everyone. That's what this whole episode has really been about, is self-discovering along the way. And that's when you have those unpredictable things that happen in the moments in life. And that's where the true magic of change really can occur. So pay close attention to that.
And Minna.
The thing about rainbows is if you're not paying attention, you don't see them. And if you're really trapped inside your mind, you don't see them. And when we're walking around so weighed down by our lives and our circumstances, we don't see them. And when we think about this notion of play, what to me, that the foundation of that, the only way that play can happen is through listening and responding. And the only way we can listen genuinely is to really place our attention, which, by the way, is such a vital resource right now. It is at an absolute premium. And so if we start exercising attention, placing our focus outside of ourselves, we might just give ourselves the opportunity to witness these moments of unexpected rainbows.
That's so very, very true. And I was just thinking and reflecting as a final thought, the symbolism of the rainbow. I saw a picture recently of drawn little rainbows out of whatever medium was available in windows during the pandemic. And I think it began in Italy. But the children who could not come out to play, who had to be social distanced, and who were in the middle of the beginning of something, we all were amazed and taken by shock over this. They couldn't meet face to face, but it became a symbol. The rainbow became a symbol of hope and saying, I'm a child and I'm out here and I can't wait to get out back in the world again and find real rainbows once more. So the rainbow symbol is so powerful for me. And I think we've done a really interesting job of taking it as our symbol to wonderful conversation today on Echo This. And with that, we are so interested in what your comments, your suggestions, and your questions might be for any of the panel. So we welcome you to contact us, please. And you can do so by email to echotogether.com. At gmail.com, echo together, the number 2, and gether, Gether, echo together at gmail.com, or on social media at Echo Together on Instagram and also on LinkedIn. So I thank you all for being here today. And our goal, our mission is that you go out in the world and echo the joy. And thank you so much for joining us.
Echo, echo.
Echo, echo, echo.
Echo, echo.
Echo, echo, echo.
Echo, echo. Listen in for empowering conversations of hope and opportunity.